Today's horror manhwa dubbed Narration is Melvina's Therapy, Chairs. If you enjoy the story at any point in time, please do not hesitate to pass me a like, subscribe, or comment down below. It really helps me out a lot. Anyways, without further ado, let's get right into this chilling tale. I finally left my job after all these years. I should have done it sooner. The truth is, I've always wanted to do something related to the arts. But instead of fighting for it, I told myself, "You're a dreamer. You'll die of hunger." Without realizing it, I became devoid, a zombie. She just stared at me, not uttering a word, simply listening meticulously. Don't you think the system is built to deceive us? It slowly takes you away from your dreams, and it turns you into a gear, making you believe you need the rest of the machine to function. I looked up again. In the chair, it was empty. Then I immediately looked back down, and up once more. Melvina was back. "I understand, Edward. What happened next?" My mother left home when I was a child. After hearing nothing from her for years, the notary called me. She had died. She'd left me her own flat and a large sum of money. Thanks to that, I could stop worrying about money and truly dedicate myself to my true vocation. That place, it was amazing. And in the back of the room was the wheelchair where she had breathed her last breath of life. A few days later, I finished the move. But when I reached my floor, that was when I met her. I met the next door neighbor. She appeared to be a small and fragile old lady. Then she turned toward me. "Ah, you must be Annie's son. I'm Margaret. Nice to meet you." We talked a while. She told me she was a close friend of my mother. Inseparable, she said, to the point where she offered to take care of her when she became ill. But the disease attacked fast. In a few days, it consumed her life. Margaret invited me to visit someday so we could talk some more. After saying goodbye, she continued with what she called nightly rounds of the neighborhood. That night, I slept softly in my bed until interrupted by a voice. "Edward." I clicked on the light on my nightstand and got out of bed, walking into the hallway, which was consumed by a deep darkness. Then it appeared. I didn't remember having moved the chair. And that scream. I looked around the room, but there seemed to be no one. And the same for the rest of the flat. Nothing out of the ordinary. The next morning, I was working in the storage room. The truth is, I grew impatient. I wanted to start my own art studio. I was dying to begin a new painting. One that would represent the turn I'd taken in my life. First, though, I organized my materials in some drawers. Huh? I opened up a drawer, and what I saw inside was a diary. Annie. By the name on the cover, it seemed to have belonged to my mother. It was full of writing. There were descriptions about situations and characters, some of which seemed to be narrative passages. Had she been a writer? Flipping through the pages, I was surprised to see my name. About what was she so embarrassed? Why she had never wanted to meet me? When I write about this character, I can't avoid thinking about my Edward. The truth is, I miss him, but my own shame has prevented me from being closer to him. Then I found something between the pages. It was a picture of both my mother and Margaret in it. It looked like they had been good friends. There was a note on the back that I had neglected to read. When I thought I had felt everything, when nothing seemed to have a new flavor, you came to help me in my life. Signed, Margaret. Once again, I was awoken in the night from my deep slumber. Edward. 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 Again, that voice. The same voice I had heard the first night. I could hear it from the other side of the door. I got out of bed, turned the door handle, and there it was. Inside my mother's wheelchair, some grotesque husk of a being. I was completely lost for words, frozen in terror, as the wheelchair slowly rolled toward me. What the hell had I just seen? For some reason, that woman reminded me of my mother. When I opened the door, that awful presence had disappeared. The next day I accepted Margaret's invitation, and I paid her a visit. I was afraid I was going crazy. I thought maybe, just maybe, learning more about my mother would give me an explanation for what I had seen. Annie and I were successful. Do you know how hard it is for a woman to get something like that? You can't know it because you're a man. We both fought for our dreams, and although it's hard to believe, I managed to be an actress. As a child, I was mistreated by my father. He said that I wasn't worth anything. When I ran away from home, I wanted to prove that it was not true, that I could achieve what I wanted. I starred in 2 films, and in the second, I met a man who loved me. But one day, my love threw boiling oil in my face, and I never acted again. But you didn't come here to listen to my life story. Annie died in a matter of days. Her state degenerated until she couldn't look after herself. I took care of her as best as I could. But in the end, she lost her mind too. She even bit her own fingers. Everything happened so fast. She began to suffer from hallucinations, especially at night. They kept her from resting. She insisted that someone was yelling her name over and over again. I was speechless, terrified. Had I experienced what Margaret just explained? Was I beginning to suffer the same symptoms as my mother? Had I inherited her illness too? That night I continued reading the diary, but sleep was overcoming me, slowly. I was about to fall asleep when something caught my attention. Huh? I'm pretty sure that my illness began when that damned wheelchair appeared at home. Where did it come from? Nothing makes sense. I shouldn't have sat in it. It weakened me, and now that it got me, it won't let me rise again. I was absolutely terrified in that moment, lost for words. But there was one thing I knew. I knew I had to get rid of that chair as soon as possible. As I had thought, there was that dreaded wheelchair, just sitting at the edge of my door. The whole situation began to really scare me. I knew I had to get away from it, if I didn't want to end up being like my mother. So, that night, I took it outside and left it next to a dumpster. But I couldn't sleep. I was worried about too many things. Could I have developed some mental illness? Did I make a mistake leaving everything to follow my ambitions? And the most worrying part, the wheelchair came back. I tried to get rid of it again and again, but the chair always came back to that very place, like I'd never moved it. Days passed and I was getting more and more tired. Its very presence exhausted me, and whenever I touched it, I felt my energy drained in seconds. Until the day I lost control. Edward, sit here with Mommy. No, it can't be. Sit on your mother's warm lap. Margaret came to see me when she heard my screams through the wall. She advised me to go see a therapist, but then quickly diverted the conversation to something less constructive. She began talking about how men aren't used to suffering, that our advantages in the world are a double-edged sword, making us weaker people, collapsing easily. It annoyed me that she was minimalizing what was actually happening to me with a speech as out of place as that. I tried to stop listening to her. The clock chimed and I switched my focus to it. I was surprised that a cuckoo bird had not appeared from within. I looked inside it and saw something at the bottom. A crumpled paper was blocking the cuckoo mechanism, and when I unfolded it, I discovered the terrible truth. Marge killed me. Edward, what is that paper? Nothing. It looks like it's the clock's instructions. I thought to go to the police with that note, but my family had told me her death was caused by Guillain-Barré syndrome. She couldn't have been murdered, right? Moreover, at the end she had lost her mind. Whatever she'd written could have been another delusion. But I have the feeling there is something more, and I need to find out what it is. Also, there's the issue with the chair and the hallucinations. I've thought about moving, but I'm afraid I'll discover that the problem is inside me, and... Sorry. Everything is falling apart. I couldn't even start painting. I've been an idealist. I wanted to live my dream, but I've awakened from that fantasy and the reality is so different. I see. Your conclusion is you've been a capricious idealist for pursuing your ambitions. And now you are paying for it. Because people who count the days until the weekend, who juggle their vacation days to link to holidays, so that they can feel some sense of freedom. They are the ones who don't live in a fantasy. They are the realists. You already know that I don't think that, because I wouldn't have left everything. Edward, do you know what's happening? You're not listening to yourself. That self-imposed discourse, mocking those who bet on their dreams, it remains deep within you, fighting against opposite feelings. A confrontation that is a swarm of insecurity and constant stress. In order to become realistic, you've spent a lot of your life pretending to be another class of person, and that has not made you strong, but rather has made you weak. We all have an inner child asking us to listen, but if you don't run the risk of killing him, why don't you want to eat? Do it at once. And when that happens, when you kill that child, it is when you start dehumanizing yourself. I have other things to do. You know I'm not here to serve the master. You have to drink. Are you looking for reasons to cry? Is that what you want? Ugh! Just cry! When I got pregnant, you promised me you would help me continue my career and that this would just be temporary. But you're a liar. You have me here as a maid while you enjoy the life and I work so hard. Margaret, you're insane. You've hurt him. He has bruises all over his damn body. What kind of mother are you? You're not the stellar father you think you are if it took you that long to notice. But of course, you were too busy sleeping with other actresses to even care for your own child. Don't you raise that tone with me! Who the hell do you think you are? If you put a hand on him again, I swear I'll beat you to death. Do you hear me? To death! Ugh, kill me if you want, but I will not let more men step on my life as if it were worth nothing. And that little monster, he will be the first to learn. Ugh! So you misbehaved and he threw you out of the house. I knew that time would give me a reason, and you'd come crawling home with your father. You were always capricious and useless, Margaret. I'm going to move, Melvina. If everything started when I arrived, then just maybe everything will end when I leave. But before I leave, I have to do something. I'll wait for Margaret to go out on one of her nocturnal rounds. Our balconies are connected by a small bridge to aid escape in case of a fire. If she really was responsible for my mother's death, the evidence could be in her apartment. I need to do it before I leave, or I'll never know what actually happened. So that's why tonight, I made my way over, scaling from my apartment balcony, over to her apartment, crawling over, feeling my way against the edge of the building until coming across the back door. I opened it and made my way inside as the floorboards creaked against each and every one of my impending footsteps. I powered on my phone and used the flashlight app as a source of light, scurrying about her living space and down the dark hall, footstep by footstep, creak by creak, as the paintings on the walls seemed to stare into my very soul. Huh? What the hell is this? It was strange. All of the paintings, they were weird, off-putting, almost uncanny, and one even had a slash mark right down the middle. That was when, all of a sudden, I dropped my phone to the floor and quickly tried to gain control of the situation. I had finally stopped feeling lonely. I had found someone who loved me, but you took her away from me. After my father died, I swore to myself that no man would ever control my life again. But then you damn spoiled child, you took what I love the most. Did you really think I wouldn't notice that note Annie left for you? You're stupid, a stupid little boy and a lousy liar. I pushed her away, and she tumbled to the floor. I quickly grabbed my cell phone for a source of light. It appeared it had been damaged in the fall, but thankfully the flashlight app was still working. I ran down what seemed like a never-ending dark hall. It seemed she stabbed me. I was bleeding from the inside out, but I slowly made my way, backtracking through the apartment, back into that living space, and onto the balcony. But to my dismay, it was now pouring rain. Surely my escape would no longer be easy. I looked back behind me, and I saw that dreaded wheelchair. All drenched by the roaring storm that continued well into the night. No, this can't be. No. The front door. I reached for it. No, it's locked. I didn't know what to be. And then, that's when my vision, it got all blurry. I'm losing too much blood. I can't faint now. I need to get out of here. Edward, do you know what the worst part of old age is? Seeing yourself pushed into the background of society as an ancient object that nobody wants around. But my loneliness, it disappeared when I met Annie. Although our histories were different, we had both suffered the rejection and contempt of a society made for men. We felt an absolute connection, something I never thought would happen to me again. Until one day, she got sick. When she could no longer stand, when she began to lose her speech, she thought of you again. She wanted to see you. Then I knew that Annie would no longer love me. She was leaving me behind to be with you, and I couldn't stand it, so I had to lock her up in her apartment. She did her best to leave you a last message, and I got rid of them all. But Annie was always very creative, and managed to hide one that you would find after living in her flat for a while. But what you know no longer matters. I have nothing to lose, but you do. And now you'll know how painful the reality is. It's over! No! We all have a chair. One that follows us all our lives. Hoping that someday we sit down and we cannot get up again. Perhaps a chronic illness will make you fall into it, but we must face that old age will do it someday. In my case, I could see it when I wanted to break through in a world that had made me believe that I could not reach my dreams. When I felt that everything was lost. When the face of despair pushed me to end up also sitting in mine. I realized something. Reality is not immutable. Reality is that which you paint yourself. That little by little ends up becoming real. Well, Melvina, don't you think the system is built to deceive us? A few weeks earlier, it slowly takes you away from your dreams, and it turns you into a gear, making you believe you need the rest of the machine to function. This is the sound of the cliff. You can hear its melody from the depths of the abyss. A feeling so solemn you cannot speak, you cannot process. You can only listen. This is the sound of the cliff. You can hear its melody from the depths of the abyss. Ah! What are you doing here? No, you're wrong again. My hour has not come yet. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. I'd like to give a major and special thanks to my Patreons. I couldn't do it without them. So thank you very much. James Abel, Banger Prophecy, and Moto Surf. I appreciate you all so much for your kind donation and for supporting the channel. But I'd also like to take the time to thank each and every one of you who always takes the time to comment on the video, like the video, and most importantly, watch the video. A storyteller is nothing without someone who is willing to listen, so I appreciate each and every one of you. If you enjoy this format, don't forget to let me know in the comments below or suggest other stories that you'd like to hear. Thank you very much for listening, and remember, you are important and you matter. Have a good night, everyone. Goodbye.